How high can the Portuguese Eagles fly in the English Premier League? Hello everyone, welcome to the What If League, and today we are going to do episode 2 of the experiment. What would happen if we swap Everton for Benfica from the Portuguese Primeira Liga and Southampton for PSV Eindhoven from the Dutch Eredivisie? If you haven't seen part 1 of this experiment, please make sure to check out my channel. I am also going to leave a link down below in the description so that you can see how this experiment began. Now, we are starting part 2 from the same place that we left off part 1. This is the end of season 2020-21. And in England, Benfica finished in 7th place, while PSV Eindhoven, unfortunately for them, were relegated for the second time. Now, moving to the next season, here we see that Benfica finished in 10th place. They did not manage to build up on their previous finishes and to challenge for the places giving access to the European competitions. So that was unfortunate for them. On the other hand, moving down to the championship to see what happened, we can see that PSV Eindhoven managed to bounce back immediately. Once again, this was the same situation last time that they were relegated. So they could not really manage to stay up in the Premier League, but at least they managed to bounce back immediately from the lower division. And now, just to move back to the Premier League season after that, we can see that PSV Eindhoven managed to escape relegation and they survived, finishing in 16th place. Benfica, on the other hand, remain at 10th position, so they did not manage to build up on their previous results. In this season, they finished with 49 points. Let's just quickly go back and see. They finished with 56 last time out. So in 21-22, they were more successful in their Premier League bid. But even with less points, they finished at the same position. On the other hand, PSV Eindhoven managed to record only 34 points, which was 15 points behind Benfica, and it was only 8 points above the last relegated team, Swansea. Let's see what also happened in the very last season in the Premier League. Benfica finished seventh. This is just one place below the positions giving access to the European competitions. Very unfortunate for them. You can see that they were behind Chelsea, so this is, I think, a huge success. On the other hand, PSV Eindhoven have been relegated for the third time. This time, 22 points only, and they are penultimate in the table, just above Cardiff, but below Brentford, and they are 9 points. They have 9 points less Crystal Palace, who managed to survive, as well as West Bromwich Albion. So the Dutch team is really struggling to keep up in the Premier League. As you can see, for these 7 seasons now, they have been relegated 3 times. They have been champions of the championship twice, which I guess is something. But I think their fans would expect more, and it's quite unfortunate that they are really yo-yoing in the English divisions. Before I move to the other leagues and the teams in particular, let's just quickly have a look at the player overview here to see what is happening if some of the Benfica players or maybe the PSV players have managed to leave their mark. In average rating, there is no Benfica player of the match. We see Ronaldo Luis, who is a regen. He has 6 player of the match awards, which puts him into the 6th position. Let's have a quick look at Ronaldo Luis. He's 22-year-old Brazilian striker, also capable to play as an attacking midfielder, and his stats are really impressive. You can see his physical attributes are wonderful. He's probably a very good athlete. Managed to score 11 goals in the Premier League, 16 goals in total, 5 assists, 8 Player of the Match awards in total. So this is a very good young player for Benfica that will probably bring them more glory in the future. In terms of yellow cards, nothing we can see here. Red cards as well, and that's a good thing, of course. Then in the goals section, nobody here that we know from Benfica or PSV. So now let's have a quick look at Benfica. What is happening with them? You can see that their graph in their league history since they joined. So first time 17th, then they went to 7th, 8th, 7th again, dropping down to 10th, and now in the last season they're back up to 7th. Marco Silva is their head coach. There have been no changes here. Andrija Živković is their captain, and Fabio Anastasio, I guess, Fabio Anastasio. Let's have a quick look. He's a 22-year-old Portuguese midfielder, also capable to play in a defensive midfield as a DM position. His attributes are very, very impressive. He's a young player, very balanced, and you can see that he actually has high technique. He has very good vision. His passing attributes are very good. First touch is also very good. Decision making is a high attribute. Anticipation as well. This is probably a very capable midfielder, and I would not be surprised if there is already some interest in him. Apparently there isn't, so this is very good for Benfica. It's one of their own Ginásio da Alcobaça. I'm not sure if this is the a satellite of Benfica or what it is, this team, but apparently that player only played for Benfica in professional football. Moving to the Benfica tactics screen to see what Marco Silva has come up with to lead the Eagles in the English Premier League. We can see that they are using a very interesting 4-2-3-1 tactics with two defensive midfielders and three attacking players behind the striker, two wingers and a number 10. So the number 10 is Alfredo Servetti. I'm not familiar with that person, probably a regen. Yes, indeed, this is a regen, 22 years old, attacking midfielder, also capable to play in center midfield as well as left wing. We can see that he is very attacking based. He's not really balanced. He's from Club Nacional in Uruguay, and Benfica bought him for a mere 1.8 million just 2 seasons ago. So good for them. Who is that? Ratiu, Sherban Ratiu. This is a Romanian player, 21-year-old regen, a right winger, also capable to play on the other wing as well as the number 10 position. Again, a very positive attacking player. He was bought from Southampton in the Eredivisie. So this is very interesting now. This is quite the thing. You can see that this player started his career in Steaua Bucharest, but then Southampton bought him in the Dutch Eredivisie for 5.5 million. He impressed there, at least impressed enough for Benfica to notice, and they purchased him for 11.75 million in the very next year. The young goalkeeper of Benfica, Miles Vilar, who probably all of you know from his performance in the Champions League and in the Portuguese Primeira Liga. He's a very capable young goalkeeper that everybody is expecting a lot of, and I think he will be able to deliver. It's apparent that he has abundance of talent as long as he can cut out his mistakes, which I would put down to his age, his very young age. I think he is a very capable player who is going to shine a lot in the future, and you can see that at 24 years of age, he's already starting to develop. He's not quite the finished product, and from what I see, he's not the first team starter for Benfica. You can see that he only played 22 games in total this season, so apparently he has stern competition. It's from this player. Ethan Horvath, he's American. Ethan Horvath, then, it's not Ethan. He played the majority of the Premier League games. Let me see. He has been bought from Club Brugge in Belgium, who apparently bought him from Molde, and he started in Real Colorado in the US. Okay, very interesting. Now let's also have a quick look at the transfers that Benfica made. So let's go back to the season that we left on part one. This is season 2020-21. You can see here that what were the transfers that were last made. Rafael Dvamena from Norwich was the biggest transfer. So this is a Ghanaian player that is still playing for Benfica. He's playing as striker, but also capable to play in all three positions behind the striker. He played quite a lot in this season as well as the last, although he's not undisputed first team starter. John Guidetti was bought from West Ham and he has already been sold to Krasnodar. John Guidetti helped Benfica for 2 seasons. You can see that actually for 1 season only. He's played 23 games, managed to score 5 goals, picking up one Player of the Match award in that time. And who is this Denis Begovic? This player already retired apparently. Enzo Rocco from Cruz Azul. He's a Chilean that is playing in central defense and he's a very stable. You can see that he has all the defensive attributes quite high. So he probably was quite impressive. Let's see. He played for 4 seasons now. Unfortunately for him, he did not manage to break the 7.00 average rating barrier. And we also have the Brazilian Jorge, who is a left fullback. He has been bought from Bordeaux. And as you can see, he's currently wanted. He's wanted from the Chinese Shanghai team. So apparently there could be an offer for a lot of money. And judging by the the overall balance of the transfers, I would not be very surprised if Benfica sell him. Let's see what happened next season. Next season, Benfica spent 32 million pounds, and they sold players for a total of 56 million. So another positive year in terms of transfers. They made quite a lot of profit. We can see that they bought Ben Chilwell from West Brom. Ben Chilwell apparently has been brought to West Brom from Leicester. Luis Muriel, he's a Colombian, so Luis Muriel. In that case, he's a striker that in the meantime has been sold out to Fiorentina. Nicolas Freire from San Lorenzo has been bought. He's the main striker for the team at the moment. You can see that he played 38 games in the. Oh, he's already at Liverpool. Apologies. So he's now the main striker of Liverpool here. So he played 2 seasons for Benfica, impressing a lot, and then Liverpool bought him for a staggering 33 million sum. So the Benfica made a very healthy profit there. Good for them. Leo Connor was brought on a free transfer. He is now in Academica. Okay, Alfredo Cervetti. I think we already had a look at this guy. Yeah. Colin Rie. Colin Rie is a young left fullback, a regen player from England with a very scary face. At least that's my opinion. Let's see how did he perform. He did not manage to get a lot of opportunities. Actually, he did not play a single game in the Premier League yet, so we are yet to see how this player actually developed. And Miguel Lopez from Independiente, who is a center back, and he's still a young player. I'm not sure if he will be able to perform. He's now at Lille, so he has been sold out already. In the Premier League, he played, I would say, at an average pace, and he did not manage to shine or really showcase his talents quite a lot. But then it was enough for Lille to notice and purchase him. On the ongoing section, let's see if they sold somebody for a lot of money. Franco Servi to Milan. Then we have here Rafa Silva to Hertha Berlin and John Guidetti to Krasnodar. Let's see the next season what happened. They brought Pedro Tavares on a free transfer. So Pedro Tavares, 22 year old Cabo Verdean. So Pedro Tavares in this case. He's an attacking midfielder, also capable to play in center midfield. And he's currently in Benfica B. He has not been able to shine that much. You can see here. Okay. And let's see in the outgoing section. First of all, Mikola Matvienko from Bournemouth. He's a left fullback, a Ukrainian left fullback that Benfica decided to purchase from their competitors in the Premier League. Bournemouth managed to make a healthy profit on this player for only 1 season that they had him, and then Benfica immediately snatched him from them. We can see that he has not been that successful though. In the outgoing section, Ben Chilwell has been sold to Crystal Palace after only 1 season at the Eagles. Craig Dawson, he went to the other Eagles. Craig Dawson was sold to Burnley, and João Felipe has been sold to Bologna. Thiago Macedo has been transferred into the Greek PAOK for 7.25 million pounds. Let's see the last season here. Nathan Ake has been brought from Metz, Benjamin Rollheiser from Burnley, William Barrios from Boca Juniors, Ronaldo Luis from Flamengo, Sherban Ratiu from Southampton, and we can see Leo Almada from Lanús. Who is that player? Another regen Argentinian right fullback. He has very good stats in the mental section, not so much in the technical. Lucas Smith from Burnley. I'm not familiar with that player. He's a regen, 17-year-old regen, a very good defensive midfielder for that age. I hope that he manages to develop and becomes a beast. I really like when young players are being brought and developed in top clubs. I think that's very good that Marco Silva is trying to do that. Not all artificial intelligence managers in the game do that, to be honest. Hugo Nascimento, another regen, Portuguese central defender. He has wonderful stats in the defensive attributes, so he is really well placed to become a very good player. He's currently on loan at Aves. And let's see, he was brought on a free transfer from Rio Ave in Portugal, so a very good transfer for Benfica, this one. And they made a couple more free transfers, which I'm not going to focus. Let's go to the outgoing section where we already saw what happened with Nicolas Freire. Luis Muriel was sold to Fiorentina. Then we have Miguel Lopez joining Lille for £21.5 million. José Luis Gomez sold to Shakhtar. Thiago Gouveia to Feirense. Zé Gomes to Olympiacos. And João Felix to Dynamo Kiev. Okay, so this is quite interesting. Now let's have a quick look also at PSV before we move to the Portuguese Primeira Liga and the Dutch Eredivisie to see how Everton and Southampton are performing. So PSV are now being led by Dean Smith. This is a manager that I'm not really familiar with. We can see that in the past he has led Walsall, then Brentford, and afterwards he left for PSV. Let's have a quick look at their tactic screen. They're playing with a standard 4-2-3-1 with Fabio Borini leading the line, Bjorn Cargbo, Moses Simon, Takumi Minamino are the three behind him with Rashid Zbay and Clemens Nellemans in the center of midfield. Charlie Taylor, Melvin van Dijk, I guess this is Virgil van Dijk. No, not related. Apologies. He is a regen player that has been actually brought up to the first PSV team. He's actually quite young. I don't imagine that he's going to play a lot. Mark Davies is a player that is on loan from Liverpool, 21-year-old right fullback. He has absolutely stunning physical attributes as well as some of his mental, but in the technical area he's lacking a bit. So I don't think that he will be able to make it in the top tier of football. Let's also have a quick look at the transfers that PSV made. Last time out, they bought players for £14.5 million and they sold for 10.25, so they're very modest compared to Benfica. Let's move on to the next season where they bought mostly free transfers, 3 player on free transfers. John Suter from West Brom, Connor Masterson, a very cheap transfer from Liverpool, and then they loaned a lot of players in. I think this is the year that they played in the championship, so it makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, they sold significantly for £100 million, so they made a net profit of more than £98 million this season only from transfers. This is incredible, but I think it was necessary for them in order to keep their wage budget at the amounts that they could handle, considering that they're now at a lower division. The most expensive outgoing transfer that they did was Orel Mangala to Red Bull Leipzig for 20 million and Hirving Lozano to Bayern Munich for 34.5. Let me just check this player, 26-year-old Belgian. He has very good attributes, still playing for Red Bull Salzburg, Leipzig, apologies. And Hirving Lozano is a player that I'm already familiar with. He's a winger and a very capable winger at that. He's now at Stoke, so he went to Bayern, but then Bayern did not really manage to find a place for him, I guess, and they sold him back to England, where he is now applying his trade at Stoke. Let's see what happens next season. Next season, where PSV are back in the Premier League, this is the season where they survived actually, and this is here you see that they bought significantly more, almost 10 times more in terms of total incoming transfer sum. For £16 million, they managed to bring 1, 2, 6 players with a transfer fee and another 3 players on free transfer with 2 loanees as well. Most expensive purchase for them was Moses Simon from Norwich. This is an attacking midfielder who is capable of playing in all 3 positions behind the striker. He's a Nigerian player. At the moment, he's 28 years old. And he has been with PSV ever since that transfer. Let's see his stats. He's not really setting the world alight, but apparently it's enough for PSV to keep him in the team and use him. Alexander Jankovic from Partizan. He's a regen, a left midfielder, also capable to play on the wing. Not really impressive. Hopefully he will develop a bit more. In the outgoing section, they did not sell a lot of players and they were mainly very cheap players, so I'm not going to focus on them. We can only see Leandro Bacuna here sold to Nottingham Forest. In the last season, where they get relegated in the end. They purchase only 1 player and loan 2. So you can see Charlie Taylor from Leeds. He has been brought to help them out. 30-year-old left fullback, also capable to play in midfield. David Scott Fisher from Manchester United. This is a regen that can play in defensive midfield. He has not really impressive stats. I'm not sure why they gambled on that player, and he also played 9 games in the Premier League. That's very, very surprising to me. In the outgoing section, they sold a lot of players. We can see that they sold actually 5 players with 1 One of them going for more than a million. Actually, two of them going for more than a million. Leandro Fernandes was sold for 1.2 and Juric Carolina for 1.3 million pounds. Before I switch to the Portuguese Primeira Liga, just to have a quick look, the captain of PSV is Clemens Nelemans and their key player is Santiago Ascasibar. Santiago Ascasibar is a 27-year-old Argentinian, a defensive midfielder who is also capable to play in central midfield. He has been brought from Middlesbrough. Before that, he played in Stuttgart and he started his career in the Argentinian Estudiantes. The captain, Clemens Nelemans, is a regen player, defensive midfielder. I think he is a PSV. Yeah, he is a PSV product, so he is in the team since the very beginning of his career. Switching our attention to Portugal and the top division there, the Primeira Liga. Last time we left off, Everton finished third in season 2020-21. Next year they finished third again, as you can see, 62 points, which was a staggering 25 points behind the eventual champions of Porto. Another year further down the line, another third finish, this time 62 points again, 21 points behind Porto, which were champions for another year. And in the last season, Porto were champions once more, but Everton managed to climb one place up. This time they were second, 9 points behind Porto. What is very surprising is that they also are not getting any European competitions. So apparently this is a problem for all the teams in all the divisions. And if any of you have an idea why is this happening, please let me know. I'm really interested to understand why the teams that we have swapped are not qualifying for European competition. Let's quickly have a look at the player stats in the Primeira Liga. Maybe we'll see some players from Everton there, and that will be interesting for us to notice. We can see immediately that Sandro is the third top goal scorer with 14 goals in the last season. Miguel Luis is also having most assists from Everton. He has 14 against his name. Jordan Pickford is the best goalkeeper with most shutouts, so they are really starting to dominate, and they're probably dominating since the very beginning. When they were here, they were always in the third, fourth positions, and now they managed to finish second. It's very unfortunate that they cannot play in the European competitions. I find this very unfortunate and really disheartening. I hope that we find a way to fix that in the future for next experiments. This is now the Everton overview, and you can see that their head coach is Paulo Fonseca, captain is Sandro, with key player is Jetson Fernandes. This is very interesting that Paulo Fonseca is leading them. Let's go to the head coach section, see what happened. So they started the game with David Unsworth as the interim. Gerardo Martino took charge and he left the role in 2020 when Duncan Ferguson became the interim manager. Rui Vitoria took the charge of Everton afterwards, but he was sacked after nearly 2 years. With Casio replacing him as a permanent manager. He was sacked also for after another year. Duncan Ferguson took charge for a third time as an interim manager, and now Paulo Fonseca is leading the team for a bit more than a year. In the tactics screen, we see that Everton is playing with a standard 4-2-3-1 tactics, with Sandro up top, with Boadu, Ilic and Etebo behind him. Luis and Fernandes are in the middle of the field. João Marcos, Yusufa, Areco and Insaurralde. This is Claudio Insaurralde. Apologies, I'm not familiar with the name. That's why I had so much trouble pronouncing it. He's a 23-year-old Argentinian right fullback, a regen player. And as you can see, a lot of those players are actually loan players. This guy is loaned from Sporting Lisbon. He's joining permanently soon. Miguel Luis, he's a real player, not a regen, and he's very impressive. So this is a good transfer from Everton. Let's also see Luka Ilic. He's a real player as well, 24-year-old Serbian. He is playing in the number 10 position, but he's also capable to play as a striker, right wing, and also in the middle of midfield. He has been brought on a free transfer from Bournemouth. Before that, he played for West Ham, Manchester City, and Red Star. So this is Crvena Zvezda in the Serbian league. Miron Boadu, a Dutch player, a left wing, also capable to play as a striker they have, and Ogenekaru Etebo. It's a Nigerian player. I'm not sure where is he coming from. He actually was in Everton for quite a long time, before that in Feirense and Wari Wolves in the Nigerian leagues. All right, let's now have a quick look at their transfers, and let's go back to the last season. We can see that at that point they spent merely 3.9 million pounds, and they sold for players for 2.2. Next year they sold players for 19.5 million pounds, and they bought also significantly more players. We can see Fabio Garrido has been brought on a free transfer. Ever since then, he already retired. Let's see, Sam Clucas was brought on a free transfer. Alec Georgian from PSG. Rodrigo Pereira, very cheap players though. Justin De Haas from Feyenoord. He has not really developed a lot and has been since then sold to Vitesse. Junior Tavares. He's a left fullback that is now playing in. This is Apologies, I'm not sure. I'm currently struggling to remember what was that team. Of course, this is Santos. Apologies for that. Just a bit of a brain fart. He's now playing at Santos, and we then have João Carlos Teixeira from Braga, Emmanuel Jimenez from Rosario, Diogo Gonçalves from Benfica. In the outgoing section, who was their biggest transfer? Michael Keane was sold to Atletico Madrid. This is very interesting. Let's see who else. Nothing else really sticks out. So let's see Michael Keane. What's he doing in Madrid? He's now 31 years of age, and he's a very, very good defender. How did he perform in the last 3 seasons? Not bad at all, considering, and he's apparently in their first team. So this is very, very positive from Michael Keane. Going back to Everton, next season they bought a lot of players again, 15.5 million pounds spent, with the biggest transfers being Gino Peruzzi from Inter Milan. He's an Argentinian right fullback, and he has since left the Everton team. He's back in South America, this time in Brazil, playing for Cruzeiro now. Let's see, Luis Ritaco from Argentina. He has been bought from Independiente. He's a center back and a very impressive one, to be honest. His heading is not really impressive, but his mental and physical attributes are quite good. What else? Kenneth Omero from Salzburg, Jonathan Casanova from Belgrano. And in the outgoing transfers, we don't really have big transfers. Emmanuel Jimenez is the biggest one, so they're really keeping their star players these years. In the last season, in terms of transfers, they bought a lot of people on free transfer. You can see here a lot of free transfers for Everton. Simo Sinomar has been brought for 3.8 million, a Brazilian center back with very, very impressive stats. I must say this is a great player with determination at 20, which means that he really wants to succeed, he wants to develop, and I imagine that he will. He did not play a lot of games in his first season, but he'll get more chances as time progresses. Lautaro Angelini from Argentina, he's a right fullback. Um, I would say a good player, probably a bit average. He's 24, which means that he does not yet have a lot of time to develop now. In the outgoing transfer section, 14.25 million in total. They sold a lot of players, as you can see, with the most notable transfer is Cristiano Piccini to Bologna, Kenneth Omero to Nantes, and Marco Piazza. Marco Piazza has been sold to Lille for 5.5 million pounds. So this is their biggest outgoing transfer, and you can see that he's actually a very capable player. I'm sure that they have felt his absence. Switching to the Dutch Eredivisie, the last time we left off it was season 2020-21, where Southampton were champions for the fourth time in a row. Next year they were champions for the fifth time, 76 points, which is 9 above Vitesse in second place. Ajax have fallen to fifth place. Next year, Southampton are champions for the sixth time in a row, this time 75 points, 10 more than second place Feyenoord. And in the last season, it's a record 7 championship in a row for Southampton with 75 points, 3 more than second place Ajax. Still, they're not qualifying for European football. This is very, very concerning. Let's see. Ronald Koeman is leading them. I don't think that they have had a lot of changes. Actually, they had. So Mauricio Pellegrino left the row in 2020. Afterwards, Martignol led them for 3 years and a half, and now Ronald Koeman is their permanent manager. Cedric is their captain with Ognjen Mehic from Serbia, their key player. So this is a 20-year-old Regen who is capable of playing as a right wing as well as a striker. As you can see, his stats are very, very good indeed, and he's really taking the Eredivisie by storm. Moving to the tactic screen for Southampton, they also employ a standard 4-2-3-1 tactic with most of these players are now Regens, so I'm not really want to focus on each one of them. Ognjen Mehic, by the way, their key player, is on loan from Liverpool, so they're going to part with him in the end of this season, which has already come. He has just not returned to his parent club. Let's have a quick look at their key players. So Samuel Adegbenro, Nigerian, he's not really that impressive. We have also Roland Salai from Hungary. He is an interesting player, but again, really not sticking out with a lot. Miguel Borja, apologies, a Colombian player, Colombian striker that let's see how many goals he's scoring for Southampton. He's a good striker. He's not really that prolific, but I imagine that Ronald Koeman is finding use of him. Alexei Miranchuk in midfield, 28-year-old Russian. He's an attacking midfielder, also capable to play in the middle. And now let's see their transfers. I'm very interested to see if they're spending a lot of money. So last time in part one, they spent 23 million pounds and they received 26. Next year, it's a similar story. They spent 29.5, received 20, with the top transfer being Samuel Adegbenro from Porto. So they're helping Everton out by weakening their opponents there in the Primeira Liga. We already saw that Nigerian player. In the outgoing section, their biggest transfer out was Sofiane Boufal to Hertha Berlin and Per Schuurs to Sporting Lisbon. So they're also giving to the Portuguese league as well. In the next year, we can see that they brought Olivier Giroud from Atletico Madrid. So Olivier Giroud left Arsenal to play in Spain in Madrid and then joined Southampton in the Dutch Eredivisie. Very interesting stuff. Sherban Ratio. We saw Sherban Ratio is now in England playing his trade in Benfica. So it was one of the interesting transfers that happened. Alex Gersbach. So let's see. Gersbach, this player is a left fullback. He's Australian. Derek Lucassen from Herenveen joined as well, a right fullback, also capable to play as a defensive midfielder and as a centre back. We have also Cheryl Floranus from Vitesse. He's a fullback capable to play on both wings. So I see that Southampton that year bought a lot of fullbacks. Probably they had a reason for that. I imagine that they sold the fullback, and most of their transfers are defensive. We can see Eric Palmer Brown, a 27-year-old American who is a centre back, as well, has been purchased. On the other side, we see Nathan Redmond was sold to Leicester, Tim Tantrum to Burnley, Michał Karmenchik to Fiorentina. Who else was sold? Kai Serhuis to Leverkusen. I'm not familiar with that name, so apologies if I'm making a mess out of it. And Kieran Freeman has been sold to Aberdeen, but their biggest transfer was Manuel Akanji to Juventus for a 32 million sum. So 32 million pounds was his transfer fee. He's a 28-year-old Swiss player who is capable of playing as centre back as well as right full back. So this might explain why they bought so many defenders. Next year, which is the last season here, they bought 2 players on free, as well as 4 players with a transfer fee. Geoffrey Verkamen from Roda, who is a Regen, 17-year-old, very young player, probably will develop as a good left fullback. Feliciano Antonia, a Dutch Regen, 19 years old. He's attacking midfielder, really not that impressive yet, but hopefully he will develop as well. Pedro Marques has been brought from Vitesse. He is a striker, and he's actually originally from Portugal, Belenenses, Sporting Lisbon. Kim Jin-soo, he's a Korean who has been purchased from Real Sociedad. He's a real player, now 31 years old. He's a left fullback, so again, continuing with the defensive transfers here. In the outgoing section, we have Sherban Ratio, who we already saw that he's playing now for Benfica. Derek Lucassen has been sold to Ajax, Jason Tarpey to Herenveen, and the biggest transfer was Pierre-Emile Højbjerg joining the Chinese league in Jiangsu Suning for 17.5 million pounds. Now, I forgot to also check out the domestic cup, so let's go to England first, FA Cup, and see who won the FA Cup in the last years. Chelsea, Tottenham, and Manchester City were champions of this competition, so here neither Benfica nor PSV managed to do something. Let's also see what is happening with the League Cup. In this competition, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham were winners in the last few years. Now going to Portugal, we have Taça de Portugal. Taça de Portugal was won by Everton in the last 2 years. Before that, Sporting Lisbon were victorious. So Everton are now starting to win trophies. This is very impressive. Let's see Taça da Liga. In the Taça da Liga, Belenenses and Porto are really dominating here. If you remember in part one, Everton were champions in the first. Everton won that trophy in the first season that they had in Portugal. Finally, the Dutch Cup. Let's see who won the Dutch Cup. Southampton won it once. They also won it in the very first season. Then Feyenoord and Venlo have been the winners of this trophy. And last thing before we finish this part 2 of the experiment is going to be the European competitions as per tradition, starting with the Europa League. Last time in season 2020-21, Inter were champions. Next year, Tottenham were champions after defeating Atletico Madrid in the final. Tottenham also beat Fiorentina, Spartak Moscow, and Athletic Bilbao on their way to this trophy. In season 22-23, the Italian Roma were crowned champions of the Europa League after beating Wolfsburg in the final 2-0. Roma also defeated Arsenal on away goals in the semis, as well as Feyenoord in the quarters and the French Lyon in the second knockout round. And in the last season, Fiorentina were champions of the second most important European competition after beating Sevilla in the final. Fiorentina defeated Shakhtar in the semis, the German Hoffenheim in the quarterfinals, and their compatriots Lazio in the second knockout round. Moving to the top tier with the Champions League, Chelsea were champions of Europe last time out. Then in the next season, they managed to defend their title after defeating Arsenal in an all-English final on penalties. Chelsea qualified for that game after beating another English team, Manchester City, in the semis. Before that, they eliminated French Monaco and German Borussia Dortmund. Next year, Atletico Madrid, they got promoted to the Champions League after winning also the Europa League. They also won the Champions League after beating Liverpool in the final 2-0. They qualified for that game after defeating Manchester City, Sevilla, and Manchester United. And in the last season, Chelsea won another European trophy, the Champions League, after beating Barcelona in the final. Chelsea also eliminated Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, and the Italian AC Milan in the first knockout round. With that, I think this is enough for part 2 of this experiment, which actually became quite a long video, so apologies for that, guys. If you still haven't seen part 1, please check out my channel. I am also going to leave a link in the description below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for my channel if you haven't already. That way you're going to receive notifications for when I upload new videos. In the meantime, you can also check out my social media. Links will be provided in the description below. Let me know what you think about this idea and what would you like to see next. I would love to hear from you in the comments. If anybody has figured out why there is lack of European competitions for the teams that we have swapped, I am really interested to find out. So once again, thank you everybody for watching. Goodbye.